about the formation of WONE.
Well, it started a long time ago, I suppose, but it wasn't
before the dawn of man.
Yeah,
really.
Before the dawn of man came WONE, and then there was WONE.
Two followed one.
Yeah, no, we started out just being I'll use the word eclectic, bunch of friends that was thrown together for a camp out at Alice Springs, or just north of Alice Springs. I think it was Una Whoop Whoop, by memory, the name of the place we played at.
South of Una Whoop Whoop.
Okay.
So
yeah.
bit
And east of Timbuktu.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
around Alice
So
Springs
around
area.
out there, and we formed as a band, and sort of remained just doing worship stuff and playing for camps and kids and youth and that sort of thing. And then we sort of got more and more opportunities and went over to the States and did some stuff around the country, and then sort of changed our direction a little bit, I guess. We felt that was where we're being sort of called to do something more in between the worship, something which we could take music to everyday people as well as to people in the church, and encourage everyone and bring everyone alike hope in our faith through music.
everything what he just said.
And then there was WONE. So that's how WONE formed. Now, I guess out of that, can you tell me a little bit about your background, like each of your background into music, maybe some influences, like favourite bands as you were growing up, so maybe go through like your favourite sort of world music and then Christian bands, underground, that sort of stuff, just, you know, a bit of background about yourself and music.
When I was growing up, I really got into the cello. No joke, when I was in primary school, I started off playing the cello. My mum and dad encouraged us in the music, and they said, no, you can't play anything rock, no drums, you got to get into the cello. So so I did that, and then I got into Iron Maiden, and they were a big influence on me, real big influence, and I turned to rock.
From Iron Maiden to WONE.
Is that for real?
Oh, the cello bit was.
It was maybe Girlfriend that you were originally
Backstreet
into.
Boys.
Backstreet Boys. NKTOB. New Kids on the Block. Something like that.
Yeah,
Bit of
there was probably a few
bit of
steps.
Seiko, bit of Jason Donovan, Kylie Minogue,
Jace.
that kind of stuff, duo, and then eventually maybe some Tough Nuts around the corner led you to rock and roll.
Yeah, probably.
Tin Kid. What is it? The Tin Lids in there somewhere as
Tin
well.
Kids.
The Tin Lids, and then he progressed to Barnsley, was it? And he found rock and roll.
I don't know. WONE has, I think, a lot of roots in Aussie rock, probably. I reckon just the just straight rock bands. You know, the likes of, I don't know, things that really get me going are things like AC/DC. You know, the Four Chord Wonders from that. You know, just simple stuff. And then, you know, obviously the likes of Motor Ace and I suppose the New Zealand wonders of She Had, long live them. And I suppose for me that's been big influences of recent after the cello.
I grew up in the country, and I guess it was a big thing, rock and roll in the country, so that's what I was into. I originally played the trumpet, and as much as my parents enjoyed me playing that, I always yearned for something more. And I guess for me, the bands that I got into were the likes of, quite literally, it was Iron Maiden, in all seriousness, and who else? There was Aerosmith, and AC/DC was a huge part of my life, and Guns N' Roses too. Those sort of bands were the ones that sort of really got me going in rock and roll, and I guess from that, getting rooted in that, there wasn't much Christian music around at that time that I was listening to at all. But, you know, just finding my faith through the church and having those roots entrenched in rock and roll, and now Jesus being a big part of my life, that sort of has transcended through those musical influences into what we are today.
Yeah, I guess my background in music, I started off in primary school doing piano. My parents made us all do piano in the family, so we were kind of forced into that, but it was good because it gave me a good grounding for everything musical, I guess. My first experience with anything rock would have been Bon Jovi. I used to, me and my friends used to listen to that. I think we were in year 1, or probably year 2 or 3 even, when we started listening to Bon Jovi. That was great. So that gave me a good introduction. And I think the next, I didn't really listen to too much music through the primary school years, other than that, I guess. But getting into high school.
You said you liked Two Live Crew a lot. Can you say you listened to them quite a bit?
No, that was Culture Beat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My mistake.
But yeah, then getting into high school, I got introduced to bands like Nirvana and Pearl Jam, and all the grunge era, Smashing Pumpkins and all that kind of stuff, and progressed from there through to the rock that we all listen to today, which is, the likes of Motor Race, as they've mentioned, Jimmy Eat World, Foo Fighters.
Yeah, cool. And going on from there, what's your sort of favourite Christian bands, including sort of underground scene bands as well, like sort of the bigger scene in there? Yeah.
I don't know. One of my really good mates from school, he probably got me into a lot of the Christian music scene. He was involved in one of the bands that kind of was there when it all started, Jemima, and they were just this, I suppose, a real indie band. It wasn't really a hard rock band. It was just a real indie kind of style, light distortion sounds, and he got me onto a couple of shows at the Underground, and I just remember one of the shows that they were playing with Ceres. It was one of the Ceres Cole's first shows there, and it was just this whole excitement and vibe of the place that I think really got you going, and really made you enthusiastic about, well, there's something special going on here, I suppose, in a local sense. I mean, Robin Mann's always been the source of strength and inspiration for me personally. A lot of inspiration,
yeah. And he's always been one step ahead of the times with the afro and the pink guitar.
And he's still there, lads. Yeah, he hasn't left. He's still there.
Still cutting edge.
Well, he was my first probably influence in the Adelaide
probably
scene.
Seriously, yeah.
For music, going along to those old St. Stephen's Uni services and seeing him and his band playing there with his electric pink guitar. In fact, I think I first saw him back in primary school when he did a tour and came through and played at the primary school, which was quite shocking back in those days to see such an electric pink guitar.
And he was
being played locally.
Yeah, he was the man.
But after that, the Underground certainly played a big part, and seeing bands like Jemima and Ceres Cole in the early days certainly started a lot of things rolling, really.
Yeah, I got into a lot of those bands, and it wasn't really a lot by choice. It was more the fact that I happened to go out and find these bands, and it just happened to be the music that seemed to be good at the time that I liked. The likes of there's always been a lot of bands around. Always been a lot of bands around playing in Adelaide. It's a big hub for music, and just happened to turn out that the bands that I really liked listening to in the scene were the likes of STR, Ceres Cole.
And my phone.
That'll be our agent in the US.
That's her. She's calling you.
That's his background.
Just
I get
black it
every time.
Black it.
Just reject.
Reject him and turn it off.
God,
He's rejected
had a phone call.
Just throw it against the wall to turn it off.
Yeah, I'd turn it off because it's going to beep again. A menace to society. A menace.
Get him out of there. Nice one. So there we have some of the major influences of WONE.
Yeah, I guess my favourite Christian band, one of them's probably become Switchfoot. That was my first outside of local stuff. Like, there was a big movement. There was like Ceres Cole, Think Tank, Leslie Does, Hummel, Edison, Hone, those sort of... There was a big movement of bands like that that was, really good bands. You actually enjoyed standing on the side of the stage and watching after you played. Sometimes, you play and you listen to other bands perform before or after you, and you sort of, not really that interested in it, but these were all really good sounding bands. And from there, my first sort of outside of Adelaide Christian experience was someone got me onto Switchfoot and got me the CD, and that really sort of sparked me into liking Christian music.
Another big one for me, I don't know, growing up, I kind of thought Christian music was a little lame. Like, I suppose, being growing up in the church, I suppose, you kind of think that this is what it is, that we're traditional Lutheran church, but I don't know. I saw this band called Delirious. I think Dwayne got me onto them, and I was fortunate enough to go and see them, and they just really changed my perspective of what Christian music could be and is, I suppose, and was a big inspiration for me. That's for sure.
Definitely.
They're great.
We made a couple road trips over to Melbourne to see those guys, I think, and we've seen them over in Sydney as well. So every time they come back, I think we try and get over and see them.
We'll be playing with them over Easter this
That's
year, which
right.
is just going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, they're playing with us.
Yeah.
And what's that with?
The Australian Gospel Music Festival up in Toowoomba. It's probably the biggest Christian music festival.
One of them, anyway.
Yeah,
In Australia.
in Australia.
33,000 people, apparently, so
Should be
that'd
good.
be great.
Rock and roll.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that one.
33,003 if you include us, so it should be good.
And that's it.
4 including Sam.
Who else is
Yeah.
playing on the bill?
You got the likes of the Lads and the Frugals.
Sonic
making a
Flood.
return. Yeah, Frugals. Who else
Petra.
is there? Petra.
The old school rockers.
Yeah.
Are they the Bible Canon guys?
No,
That's Striper.
Striper.
I want to see Striper.
They shoot cannons out of
Oh,
Bibles.
that would just be the
Or the other way
greatest.
around.
Bibles out of cannons.
Yeah.
Even.
That too. So there's going
Can
to
you
be
just imagine
Alabaster Box is another one up there. A lot of good bands.
and Soul Frame as well.
Yeah,
Soul
our
Frame,
good
yeah.
mates.
Good mates from
Soul
Queensland.
Frame are great. Yeah.
Yeah, they just like their television too much. Those lads.
Xbox.
That's the one. Suck at Boulder Dash though. Suck really bad.
So
And Risk too, probably.
Nice one. And going on from that, like obviously that's an achievement. What are some of the achievements of the band?
of one.
Yeah, just one.
Yeah. Oh, being able to write music's one achievement, I guess. Just being able to put 3 chords together in a melody, that's a tough enough challenge these days as it is.
It's chemistry. It's tough.
Yeah. And going on from that, after we got over the challenge of 3 chords and a melody, being able to play just music is to a bunch of people, Woff's quite frightened of being out in public and on stage, and it was a big achievement for him.
Just to go out in the sun's tough.
Yeah.
Or even getting seen on camera. I mean, look at me. I have to
Turns
make
into
sure.
an animal.
No, we've had some great experiences with the band. We've got to go over to the US a couple of times on invitation, and that's just been great. And in all of these things, just been listening to where God's wanting to take us, and sort of the opportunities have been fantastic, and we're just hoping we can just dedicate ourselves to what God's will is for us and keep getting more of these chances, like going to AGMF and going over the east coast of Australia and just playing to people. And it doesn't matter how big or small you play to, it's just when people are encouraged, and especially with Christian music, as I went to see Third Day recently, and it's exactly the case that you can see as many bands as you want, and it will satisfy you for a short period of time, then leave you with nothing. But when you see a Christian band, there's something more to it. There's a spiritual side which gets fed if that band's in tune with God. And for us, that's what we're sort of hoping to do, is to encourage people in their walk of faith through good music and a solid message tied in through that.
What's the question again,
Oh,
Babs?
that's it. Can you talk me through, like your best? Can you talk me through your best ever show, like a big show, from sort of maybe packing the car to, like how it blew up and like how it was rocking?
I don't know, like maybe not a best ever show, but one that really does stick in my mind. I can't remember if it was we were going over the East States for Black Stump or another festival, but we'd been in the van, I suppose, for we're known for our crazy car
Antics on road
trips.
trips.
Yeah, I suppose. I'm not going to go into all of the details, obviously, but we like to drive, and we like to drive long distances in short amounts of time possible. And we were coming back home, and we decided to hook up with this camp that was just of Canberra?
ACT, it was just out of Canberra.
What was
yeah.
it called?
Warrumbui, wasn't it?
Warrumbui, that's the one.
Yeah.
Warrumbui.
It's a Lutheran camp, and basically, I don't know, we were a bit down in cash, I suppose. The tour, like obviously when you're doing band stuff, you're struggling for money for most of the time, and we were pretty tired, really lethargic, and just wanted to get home. And we rocked up this camp, and the vibe was just really exciting, I suppose. Like it was just.
It was Mabo.
It was the
vibe,
Constitution. It was just out there.
It was everything.
And anyway, we unloaded the van, and we had it was probably one of the worst situations you could imagine in terms of you had no lighting, you had like this little 4-channel mixing desk kind of thing,
And we were playing in a pit.
yeah, literally like a pit, and like these little speakers that were just standing
Next to us on the floor.
Yeah, that's it.
They were on the floor.
They're on the floor. It was just the worst.
And it was a
possible-
round room with a tin roof.
It was the
So
worst.
the sound could go anywhere
But
it possibly wanted to.
yeah, that's it. But it was surprisingly probably the best, one of the most memorable shows I reckon that I've been involved in, just because
The kids loved it, didn't they?
yeah, that's it. Like,
And it was really great. They just, they were really enthused about it, energetic, and it really lifted us. And, it was just, a blessing on all sides, to them and us and everyone involved. It was just such a good gig, and that just sort of came out of nowhere. We were expecting to be ordinary, we
less
could have
than
just
ordinary.
driven straight past and gone home, and it turned out to be, a cracker gig.
Mm.
I think it's been the way a couple of times as well with camps that are out. We've gone out to where you've got a really good reception with the kids at the camps. We did another one when we were over in America. We went over to Wisconsin, I think it was it?
I've got a T-shirt from the camp.
Lake Wapagasset, it was called, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
Wapo, that's it.
Wapagasset, Lake Wapagasset. But yeah, it was a really
Terrible.
awful, but it was a very good camp. Like the kids there were awesome, and we got to teach them a bit of Aussie rules football and things like that. But
That's so
we also
fun.
got to play outdoors there, and the crowd, the kids were all around, and they really got into it. They really loved it, and it was just
It
really
was one of those gigs again, using probably the poorest PA you could find,
And the poorest
sort of
gear probably as well. Like
Yeah.
we were just using through really ordinary rigs. Like I think again your guitar rig could have fitted in my shoe probably.
Yeah,
Like, it was just that small.
but it was there was just such a good feeling there, and God sort of works in all sorts of wonderful
crazy
ways
ways.
and strange ways, and it was another cracker of a gig.
Mm.
Yeah, see, sounded good. Can you talk me through the sound of WONE? Sort of bounce around some words for how you guys sound. What's your sound sort of thing?
Emotive?
Without being emo.
Yeah.
I guess just passionate. It's probably a word that's not really defining sound, but defining
The vibe. Again.
the Mabo constitution.
probably gospel orientated without being in your face too much.
Modern gospel.
Yeah, the sound of the band is just pretty much it's modern rock in a way, I guess, and we're trying to carve out our own sort of sound, without sounding too much like everyone else. But it's pretty hard to be overly original these days unless you do something that's either been done years ago that no one can remember, that the current generation can't remember, or you just do something really wacky, like a kind of a Primus thing, or
We have 5 billion bass guitarists on stage.
yeah, or something like that. But our sound's pretty much it's a rock and roll sound, and modern rock. A lot of guitars, a lot of driving guitars. We like to, when we record, sort of probably put down a few too many guitar parts than we really need, but we like guitars. So,
And we'll keep doing it.
yeah, we'll keep doing it. Other than that, it's pretty, I guess, a big sound on our, especially the latest recording. We've gone for a wall of sound. I don't know why, but it just turned out that way. Probably because we had enough time to be able to put as much as we wanted down. That's kind of the sound. Anything else? It's